Hi everyone. We're very excited to be joined by Comair's Brian Kitchen today as the airline started flying again on 9 December. Brian is the Executive Manager for Sales and Marketing for Comair, and he's here to talk to us about the airline's plans going forward. Thanks so much for joining us today, Brian.
Welcome, Sarah. Good to be here.
Great. Well, it's lovely to see you back at Comair, and so exciting that the first flights took off today. Maybe you can start by telling our viewers what your plans to engage with the trade are going forward.
Okay, Sarah. Yes, we've had a long history of being very trade friendly as a business. We spend a lot of time with the trade, and it's a very important aspect of our business. Obviously, the trade still controls a majority of corporate and government business, and that business is good yielding business for us. So we've obviously maintained a very, very close relationship with the trade, and we will continue to do so. So, the question is, how are we going to re-engage? I think it's to get the sales team out, get a face to our business again. The sales team and the rest of our business have been at home for the last 8 months. So as you said, it was a momentous day for us today to get the British Airways brand back in the sky. Kulula, we're sort of 9 days in, so we started Kulula on the 1st of December. But the sales team obviously represent both brands, and they plan to get out there in the new year. They've all only been back at work for 10 days, so they're getting their portfolios and their client bases and their contacts lists up to date. And in the new year, we're going to be out there in full force. So, the way we normally engage is trade communications, personal visits, travel chats, and we're going to replicate all that again as we get going.
Fantastic. So when you announced that you were reopening sales, there were a few little glitches with GDS issues and IATA issues. Right. Has that all been sorted out now? Can agents book on the GDS?
So there's two different approaches for both brands. British Airways is back on the GDS. The reason for that is that ticket stock gets issued on 125 paper, and the money gets remitted back to BA, and it gets sent back to Comair in a long sort of process that takes about 2 weeks. But British Airways, as part of our franchise agreement, have maintained, obviously, their IATA license and their ticketing stock, which is available to Comair to sell onto the trade in South Africa. So BA is back on the GDS, and what the agents will notice, those that are having a look at the GDS, is that it's extremely well priced, very competitive. I think we launched Cape Town at under 800 Rand on the BA brand, which is a first for us, considering that it's the full service carrier. It is, meals, frequent flyer program, flexibility, better legroom, as a premium product in the country. Kulula, on the other hand, we've run into one or two issues that we need to iron out between the GDS companies and IATA. I often get asked this question: is how did we get there? And in a nutshell, our OSA audit took place in February this year. When I say this year, it feels like forever ago, but only in February. And that's an annual audit that we do. And it's an OSA safety certificate that gets issued. And of course, this needs to be paid for at some point in time. And with Comair going to business rescue on the 5th of May, that BRPs didn't get to that as that and other things. But that was extremely important for us, because that then basically sets up our IATA license, and we proceed as per normal. So we're in a position now where we need to redo our OSA audit, and that allows us then to get back into the International Clearinghouse and into BSP, which allows us to sell via the GDS. So the big question is how long and when, and I imagine that's what you were going to ask me next. The process
and what should agents be doing in the meantime too?
Yeah, okay, let me get to that as the second part. So it could be as long as 9 months. That is absolutely worst case scenario, and the reason for that is IATA has one group that does this OSA audit, and they're of course backlogged incredibly with all the drama that the airlines have been through in the last 8 months. So on initial view, we can only get this audit completed again in 9 months' time. We're hoping that we can put pressure on our IATA and get their team out here a lot quicker, just so we can get the process running. So I think, to be honest, best case scenario would be 3 months, but realistically somewhere in the middle, 3 to 6 months. And that leads you to your next very good question: is what do the travel agent community do now to sell Kulula? So back in 2012, prior to us getting onto the GDS, we had travel agent portals on our websites, and we had a lot of agents that would use the .com space. And I realized this is not ideal, because a lot of the systems and accounting and the infrastructure is set up around GDS technology. So the plan is to engage with the GDSs. We have already done so with Amadeus and Sabre and Travelport, and we're trying to work out a mechanism to get back in using GDS technology without us having to be exposed to BSP and International Clearinghouse. So we hope to have a technical solution quite quickly. We have one or two options that look quite good, but we need to unpack it a little bit. And as I say, we've only been back in the office for 10 days. A lot of our IT team and our development team are having a look at this. We have engaged with some of our partners that are desperately wanting to get going. So we'll assure the market that we'll have some form of content available. It may not be traditional GDS short term, but our goal, medium to longer term, is to definitely get back into the GDS. As I say, we like that business. We like dealing with the trade. We've done a lot of work in that environment, and we would like to stay close to that segment.
Okay, well, good luck with it. Sure. You've mentioned in previous sort of press releases and statements that you're starting with a domestic ramp up in phase 1. So regional, what are your plans for regional? When are these flights going to start? What were you flying before? What are you hoping to fly in phase 2?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So, and with that question comes a big Mauritius question too, because we've had a lot of our trade partners saying, when are we getting back to Mauritius? So I'll start with Mauritius. I think there's obviously one or two issues that are out of our control there with regards to access to the island and what that quarantine looks like, and whether we can have a viable product flying in with those restrictions. So Mauritius, we'd like to get back at. It's a very good flight for us, and it's a market we really enjoy serving. So the answer for Mauritius and the others is the same, is that as and when aircraft become available, because we've had to re-establish our entire fleet, a lot of the aircraft went back during business rescue process, so we're in the process of getting them back into the system. So we're starting on a slightly smaller scale, and the plan is to ramp up to full schedule by July. So our first focus was obviously the domestic market, because that's where the big volume is. But we hope to have regional flights for sale in the system in the next couple of weeks. And we are now subject to aircraft availability, hoping to be able to operate towards the end of February or the beginning of March, and certainly no later than the end of March. One or two things could change, like the restriction and potential additional lockdowns and that sort of thing. But if none of that happens, and touch wood it doesn't, because this industry can't afford to go back, available in the next started in end of February, beginning of March, subject to aircraft availability.
Okay, there was a bit of a lag there, but you're saying sort of end of February, beginning of March. Great. Okay. So we've talked about Mauritius, and that's still on the cards, which is very exciting.
Yes.
And then
yes.
You are currently implementing the business rescue plan, which means that you're still under business rescue. What is the time frame expected until you're at a point where you would no longer be in business rescue?
Yes. So the original plan was to conclude the entire business rescue process by the end of March. But we're proceeding a lot quicker in a lot of aspects than what was anticipated. And we've certainly impressed to the business rescue team that we're ready to take the reins. With the new management team at Comair, we're quite capable. And they seem to be supporting this notion that we can get on with it, and we know what we're doing. We have a sustainable, two sustainable airline brands, and we have a plan that is going to turn this airline around very quickly. So from an original date of towards the end of March, we anticipate that we'll be able to, they'll give us back the reins, and we can get on and conclude the business rescue process by the end of January. And that is very good news for us and for the staff and the guys in our business, is that they've given us a stamp of approval, and they're happy with our plans, and we have some very good ones, and we'll release those to you as time commences. But we believe we'll be ready to proceed on our own from the 31st of January.
Okay, not long to wait at all.
Not long at all.
And then finally, you've mentioned obviously really good airfares that you've put back into the market for December. What has uptake been since you reopened bookings, and
yes.
What are forward bookings looking like on your domestic flights?
Yes, so that's a very good question, and obviously this is a very unique environment. We spend lots of money on having tools that analyze load factor and intake and how we should be pricing, and a lot of this has had to become more gut feel, because I think the airline prediction revenue management systems are confused, because there's never been once in a 100-year pandemic that has affected booking patterns in its entirety. The problem we were faced is that traditionally you have 11 months lead time in order to sell December and to sell Christmas. With BA, we've only had 10 days. And with Kalulu, we had slightly longer than that. But, you know, the performance has gone fantastically well. On the first couple of days, we were having load factors in excess of 70% across our network. We held BA back for a week because the peak, we feel, starts today. This is when there's big activity, and the forward bookings are looking incredibly. So we don't know entirely what to predict and where we're going to end up because you know, booking pattern has changed. Traditionally, all the bookings would have taken place at this point. But what we are seeing is that a big portion of the intake, up to 40 or 50%, happened within 3 days of departure. And that is unheard of for a December or leisure season. I think the market is booking later. They're nervous of impending lockdowns, and people have held on to their hard-earned money. So they're only prepared to part with it once they're entirely secure that the flights are going to be operating. So we're seeing a late boost, and that's obviously good for us because our forward planning likes to see a minimum base load at least 10 or 15 days before departure. We haven't had the luxury of doing that, so we've had to be quite ambitious and aggressive on the pricing. But that's, you know, as we've always said, is if we put flights into the market and it's priced right, it stimulates new demand and it stimulates additional people traveling. So we think we're expanding the traveler base by having very competitive pricing. There's always a segment that wants to travel BA. And in the old days, they would have had to spend a little bit more to be on a product like British Airways. And that is not the case now. So, you know, it's a bonanza for the travelers out there. The prices have never been this competitive over December. Demand is looking quite strong, considering we haven't had 11 months to sell. And we're very optimistic that in month one of trading, we're going to do okay. You know, we're going to pull through, and we're going to add, you know, we had some of our competitors saying they were missing competition. Well, we're back. We're here to give you something. And the beneficiaries of these are the consumer, who are going to have the benefit of much cheaper pricing.
Well, we wish you lots of luck, and thank you so much for talking to us. It's lovely to be able to engage with you again. So thanks, Brian.
You're welcome. My pleasure, and look forward to talking to you again. Thank you. Bye-bye.